So now I own two green Porsches. This one's a 928 from 1986. I paid $36,000 for this wondrous bit of ancient German engineering. Was I ripped off? You be the judge. This car is certainly not going to win any concourse events. It has been driven. Also, there's bits of trim that needs replacing. The paint is not in the best condition. It needs correcting. There's chips and scratches around the place. The leather is great in some areas, but in other areas there's cracks and little bits of piping missing. Some of the buttons need some love. Carpet certainly needs cleaning. There is the ugliest aftermarket radio I've ever seen installed in here. And I found this very old Durex between the seats that might have been there since the 80s. So yes, you could certainly get a much better car than this for $36,000. However, it's not all bad news. Firstly, everything works in this car. And what I mean by everything, the pop-up lights work, every button, every gadget, every window, every light, absolutely every single thing in this car works, which is amazing. Secondly, it's only done 40,000 Ks. The engine is strong. It's a big plus to get a low mileage 928. It has brown leather inside with deviated stitching. I love a bit of deviated stitching. It is completely stock. No one has messed with this car, changed the suspension, upgraded the engine, done anything crazy apart from the silly stereo. It has a rear wiper. It is a cool color. Moss green is a very cool color and not available in the later editions of this car. It has a manual transmission. I know. Yes, it is a big plus to have a manual transmission in 928. Very rare indeed. Very, very cool. And finally, it is the real deal. It is a Porsche. It is a great deal of fun to drive. It gets up in boogies, and well, 300 horsepower might have been a huge amount back in the day, back in the 80s. It's pretty average these days, but still it's enough to get this thing motivated. It is pretty quick, but mostly it is just such a world of weirdness. There's so many strange bits and pieces in this car, makes owning this car such an adventure. It has, of course, the 928 famous pop-up lights. The gears are super weird. The first gear is down and all the other gears are in the wrong place as well, so you have to have your wits about you when you're driving it. Like any good Porsche, the rear seats are almost completely unusable. They're there, but they're like 911 tiny. In fact, I would say a 911 is more comfortable than this car in the back seat. The parking brake is over on the left-hand side here and will catch your ghoulies if you're foolish enough to drive naked. Moving the steering column moves the entire dash. There's a speaker here, there's a speaker here, there's a speaker here, there's speakers back there, there's a speaker all over this car. When I get the right stereo in this thing, it's gonna pump. There's a trunk release knob over on the passenger side. You pull it up. The stereo fader control is down here by the park brake. Of course! The hatch is huge, very useful. There's little numbers on the fan to tell you what speed the fan's going at, but not on the second fan. Apparently, this dial here is the rear evaporator control.
Evaporators? Sir, my first job was programming binary load lifters.
The sunroof is tiny and stupid and eats into your headroom. In fact, that's really the only mistake with this car, is that it's better to have a non-sunroof model, but we'll live with it. There's a parcel tray down by the pedals that really get in the way of your feet. It's very annoying. There's a very useful coin holder over here. So yes, there's a lot of craziness that goes along with owning this car. And what do I plan to do with this car? Well, I don't think I'll own it for long, but I wanted to experience a 928. Obviously, as a child of the 80s, I always dreamed of driving one of these, and now I own one and it's as cool as I expected it to be. I have a spare space in my garage at the moment. Well, I don't have a 911, so I thought I'd buy one of these, experience it, maybe give it some love, and then sell it on. Be interesting to see whether I make or lose money on this deal. What I'm going to do is next week it's going into detailers. They're going to spend a couple of weeks working on the paint, working on the leather, working on the carpets, just tidying it up. It's never going to be a perfect car, I understand that. It's a driver's car, but it can be made to look a lot better for just a couple of $1,000s. I think it'll come out shining and looking pretty damn good. I'm also going to replace the stereo straight away with something that looks more period correct, and then I'll probably put it up for auction and see what I get for it. But in the meantime, I'm going to love driving it. It's like jumping back in time, like I'm some sort of 1980s coke snorting executive that has the top of the line fastest Porsche of the time. The 928's a very interesting model. I'm going to get into more of the details in later videos, but they were built for 17 years, a very long run for Porsche. Most Porsches are 6 years and then they move on to the next model. This did have a facelift back in 1987, and you get the slightly different back lights, front lights, digital dash, a few things like that. And how much a 928 is worth, there are many variables. Obviously the later models, the 90s models, are a lot more desirable. That was the GTS models because they have the more powerful engine, they have the most gear on them. But like any Porsche, they were improved over time. And so you don't want to get one that's too early, but you don't want to overpay by getting one that's too late. And some people like the earlier look and some people like the later look. Really it comes down to how many miles the car's got, what condition it's got, whether it's a manual transmission, whether it's got a sunroof, and what year it has. So you can pay as little as, I don't know, a couple of $1,000s for a very beat up early 80s, late 70s model with an automatic transmission and high mileage, or for $40,000, $50,000 you can get one like mine, which is low mileage, manual transmission, right up to $100,000 or $160,000 for the later models, the GTS with low mileage, manual transmission, and the more powerful engine. So yeah, a real range of prices when it comes to the 928s. And if they're kept in decent condition, they increase in value over time slowly, like most every other Porsche. So it's an interesting investment. I don't know whether I overpaid or not. I guess we'll find out. But certainly I love owning and love driving it, so it's a great experience regardless. So welcome to my Porsche 928 ownership experience. I own 2 Porsches. It's a dream come true. I'm a double douchebag. Anyway, thanks for watching everyone. We'll do some more videos on this shortly as soon as it gets back from the detailers, and we can look at the difference between before and after on the detail, and we can talk about some of the other little things I can do with this car to make it a better 928 experience. Anyway, catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye then. And if you're wondering where to acquire the ridiculous t-shirts that I wear in my videos, they're all here in my store, all your favorites, including offensive stamps and my rapid dry towels as well. Yes, Nick Murray t-shirts, being a little inappropriate since 2016.